Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here with Drip and Farm for Property, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. Feels like this is just a bunch of back-to-back clips of other James Lavish. He's a CFA, financial analyst, 25 years of institutional investing, risk management experience, managing partner of Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, which focuses on Bitcoin ecosystem investments, and he authors the Informatus, a Substack newsletter with over 41,000 subscribers. And he was the CEO of an investments at LKCM $26 billion firm. So point being, he's another guy that has been in the game for quite some time. He was around during the housing bubble and the big financial bubble, 2008 bailout, and he made a shit ton of money off that. He mentioned that in this podcast clip. I'm not going to play that, but that just goes to show you that he understands the markets and was able to capitalize off these things. And the big aha moment, the reason I'm bringing this clip up is because he was introduced to Bitcoin when it was around $3,000. So like 2010, 2012, somewhere in there, early, and passed it up because he talked to his other financial gurus on Wall Street. They all told him it was a bubble and that he was just going to lose his money. And then fast forward years later, his son brings it back up, and his wife was talking about it as well. And he finally decides to pull the trigger. So I'm bringing this up because, as Saylor said, I think he even says the same quote here: we get Bitcoin at the price we deserve. And many of us have heard about Bitcoin. You heard me preaching about it. And even the way I got orange pilled is the same way he came across. You do your couple hours of research, you watch a Michael Saylor podcast or something like that. You're like, okay, great, I get it, but I feel like I'm too late. I'm going to go ahead and get all this other shit token stuff. And then you get wrecked, lose your money, and you do some more research. So you go from 10 hours to 100 hours on Bitcoin. You're like, oh, this is really where the opportunity is at. Let me double down on that. And that's the story I want to share, because it's the exact path I took. And it's just fascinating that people with billions of dollars and multiple years of experience in economics and finances took the exact same path. So it's humbling to know that this is the journey to getting orange pilled and staying humble, stacking sats. You just got to catch your lumps along the way, and then you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve.
Sure, what I was going to do after I left that firm, and so, which was in Fort Worth. And so I was kind of searching around. I was talking to people. I was doing some things, and my son, who's at Cornell at the time, he's at the time he's a sophomore at Cornell, and he's surrounded by really, really smart kids, And he said, "Hey, Dad, I know you're not sure what you want to do yet, but I got to tell you, this crypto thing seems real. I mean, it's cryptology. Like, you should go check it out, because I think there's something here for you. I think this thing is growing rapidly, and I think this is something you ought to check out." So, okay. And so he said, "Here are the things you need to look at." He told me he had bought Bitcoin and wrote it all the way up, sold it, bought ETH and Solana. Anyway, so I buy some ETH, I buy some Cardano, I buy some Bitcoin, and I start doing my work on it, and I start listening to people. I'm watching all your big hitters on YouTube, trying to figure it out, like what protocol really means. Bitcoin seemed boring. It was big. It was old. It already had its run to its new heights. What is out there that's really exciting and new? Technology, right? And so it took me but one video from Michael Saylor to understand what Bitcoin was. It was a short video. I can't remember exactly who it was with, to be honest with you. He's done thousands of them, or hundreds of them. And so I start migrating towards Bitcoin, and I'm like, okay, this really is the one that makes sense. And so I take I take what I've invested in there into Bitcoin. I start doing research on Bitcoin. I'm listening to Bitcoin podcasts. I'm reading Bitcoin blog posts. I'm on Bitcoin Twitter. Don't know anybody. I have maybe a couple hundred followers. And I'm just following a bunch of people, who I can, to start reading about it. And something pops up. I'm following Pump, and
I'm gonna pause there before it goes into Jeff, because man, I feel like Jeff is the missing link for a lot of people, and that's where it started to click for me this year, was listening to Jeff. But Saylor is probably responsible for orange pilling more people than any other single person. But he gives you the kind of the framework, the underlying principles of why it's immutable and energy and all this kind of stuff. But it made that sort of analogy may not click for a lot of people. Even like James just said, the digital gold and all that stuff. So coming across the way Jeff explains this, it's like now you understand why you need it as a human being, as a way to transact and interact with other human beings. You know, how it actually works to store your economic energy and how the other system was created to steal it. And that is the big aha light bulb moment for me as well.
And Pomp has this interview with Jeff Booth. Okay, so I'm sitting on the edge of on my bed. I've got the video playing, and I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. My wife's out making dinner or whatever, and she's like, you know, and I'm the one who usually cooks actually, so this is really unique. But she's like, hey, what are you doing? You want to come help? I was like, hold on a second. Actually, can you pause that? Come here and look at this. So I'm like 20, maybe 30 minutes into a 40-minute video. I'm like, you got to see this. And she's like, what? So I rewind it, and we watched the whole thing all the way through on the edge of the bed, just with my laptop, you know. And at the end of it, everything kind of clicks into place for me, you know. And she looks at me and she goes, oh my God, do we own enough? I'm so sorry that I ignored you so years ago. But anyway, so the point is, what clicked for me? What clicked for me, Stefan, is the idea that, okay, I get Bitcoin. Okay, I get why it's immutable, it's decentralized. Okay, store value. Okay, I get it. Digital gold. Okay, I get it. But what? You know, like what's the catalyst here? And so what really made it, and I've told Jeff, I'm good friends with Jeff now, and you know, which is really kind of neat now going forward because our community is so small. But and I've told him this, and what really clicked into place for me was this idea that we have, you know, the natural progression of technological advance means that you've got technology that's doubling in efficiency every 4 years. Is that right? Moore's law.
Yeah.
And I don't want to quote it wrong, but basically the massive advances in technology are happening, right? And as those advances in technology are occurring, you have increased productivity for less energy, basically, you know? So we're creating more through technology with less input, we're getting more output. Yet at the same time, you've got this system that depends on inflation, which means you need to have, like, the productivity has to rise in order to tax or whatever. But basically, things have to become more expensive, okay, in order to manage the past debt, because you need more dollars to pay off debt that you've, you know, just amassed. So you've got this increasing pile of debt, and so you've got this force that's inflationary, which is the market manipulation. So now go back to my real life lessons in 1998, and then 2008, and then in 2020. Now you go back to the real life lessons of, oh my God, they're expanding the money supply so rapidly. And so that's happening over here. While over here, you've got the advancement of technology that's creating deflationary forces. Like, you're getting more for less. And they're colliding. And so what is the answer? The answer is Bitcoin, because it can't be manipulated. And it will allow for this, you know, utopian future of us creating so much output for a lot less work. And so, but the money is it's so corrupt, it's so manipulated that it doesn't allow for this to occur. But Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that's that Jeff Booth aha mic drop simplicity statement of the natural state of the free market is deflation. And you can go through that. I've mentioned this multiple times, but I urge you, please go through this mental mind map step by step and find out if this is true for you. And the simplest way is what James just mentioned and what Jeff has been echoing is, like, we get more and more efficient and able to produce things cheaper and more efficiently. So if that is happening, why are prices inflating? So you go back to, I've made this analogy before. It's like, yeah, back in the day, you were planting seeds by hand with a hoe or a shovel, and you walk the line and you drop this in, you put it in there, and you wait for Mother Nature to water it. Then you go out there and you pick it, and then eventually you create, a plow, and a horse is pulling it. Then you've got multiple horses pulling it, so you're tilling it faster. Then you've got machinery. So clearly, all of that has gotten to the point as it moves forward to be more efficient. That's just like, there's no other way for you to debate that. We can look back and see that. Go back to the invention of the printing press. Before, you had to have scholars handwriting everything. They open up a scroll and then they copy it word for word to another scroll. Then you get a printing press that can mass produce this one scroll, million times over. Got computers now that can mass produce this and send it to everybody at the click of a button, almost at the speed of light. So clearly, technology and advancements make things much more efficient, and therefore they should be cheaper. And as you compete in that market, like Jeff Booth says, if you're in the day and age of the printing press and someone creates that, well, you can't compete with a business model that says, well, you're going to write things by hand because the printing press has removed that. So you have to now take the printing press and go, well, how can I make it cheaper, faster, more affordable version of this? So we only move forward, and it only gets faster, quicker, and easier. And AI is another indicator of that. Like, now you have this super smart thing at the palm of your hands that does all this other work. So again, if you believe all that to be true and you walk through this mental model, then you have to look at yourself and your way you're living and the cost of goods and go, well, why are these things more expensive then? And that is because we do not live in a free market. We live in a control system. And like James just said, the money is so corrupt. It's not corrupt, it's controlled. And they control it because if they didn't control it, then they would have no position of power. Fiat literally means by decree, meaning because I said so, you will use this in exchange for goods and services. That's it. There is no value there. And unless they control the free market, turning into a controlled market with goods and services and dictate what those prices are, they would be out of a job. So yeah, once you start to urge you, listen to Jeff Booth and understand what he's trying to explain, and then just go through this thought process and figure out if all those things are true, then you can further understand what the control system is trying to do and how you actually escape it, and why Bitcoin is so fundamentally important from so many different levels, and why that tongue-in-cheek cliche Bitcoin fixes everything, because it does. It's just so simple, but because it's so simple, it's so hard to understand. All right, I'm gonna end that clip there. Hopefully you guys found some value from James. I will have another clip later on this week, I think, from Jeff, because he just dropped some solid gems. All right, smash that HBO special, help brother out, like, subscribe, comment down below. Until next time, lift daily and achieve your possible. See ya.